Hello, I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. We're taking a special look at the Regional Media Hall of Fame. I'm in the lobby at Missouri Southern's broadcast area where we recognize the people who have received this award over the years. This year, 2015, we honored Bob Foos with the Webb City Sentinel and Dale Switzer with KOAM TV. So stay tuned as we take a look at the Regional Media Hall of Fame.
Welcome to the 2015 Regional Media Hall of Fame Awards. I'm Ron Peterson, and I will be serving as your MC this evening. And the Department of Communications at Missouri Southern has honored media professionals with this award since 2006. I was honored to be presented the award in 2007. And we welcome this year's honorees with us here this evening. I would also like to recognize the Missouri Southern administrators, as well as faculty, staff, and of course students. We also welcome previous honorees and friends and family of this year's honorees. And here's a little background about the Regional Media Hall of Fame. Throughout the years, the Hall of Fame has recognized individuals who have made an impact regionally throughout their careers. Honorees must have demonstrated the highest level of professionalism and integrity. The award recognizes both print and broadcast, and these professionals, of course, are recipients and are selected by faculty and staff in the Department of Communication, based on nominations received. You can see pictures of previous honorees in tonight's program booklet. Dale Switzer. It is indeed Switzer, is it?
Yes, it is.
I want to make sure names are important, and you can't retract them when you're live on the radio, that's for sure. But Dale Switzer award presentation. And we begin this evening's awards with a presentation featuring an area broadcast professional. Here to make the presentation is Danny Thomas, Hall of Fame recipient 2009. He's the President General Manager of KOAM TV, and he knows our first honoree quite well, as I understand it. Danny?
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. Ron, thank you very much. It's a pleasure. You know, in baseball, it's common to hear of someone who's a great pitcher or a great batter, but never both. Teams or groups of individually talented people with unique skill sets that, when put together, make a greater whole. Dale Switzer is an artist, writer, scientist, performer, intellectual. Definitely a present-day Renaissance man. Now, a Renaissance man is an outstandingly versatile, well-rounded person. A cultured man of the Renaissance who is knowledgeable, educated, and proficient in a wide range of fields, by definition. A present-day man who's acquired profound knowledge of proficiency in more than one field. Dale started at KOAM as a graphic artist to draw ads for TV Guide over 40 years ago. And most of you won't remember TV Guide, but it was an icon of its time. Then went on to shoot video, report, anchor, do sports, weather, and ag. He's managed audio, directed, produced, edited on film, edited on tape, edited in digital, created in animation, and yes, even sat in as the host of the Fun Club, a locally produced children's show. More importantly, he's created the visual image of KOAM and Fox 14 for several decades. We outsource no video elements. I mean, who needs to when you have Dale? He has led the charge for capital investment as we migrated from film to tape to digital. But even more important than that, Dale is loved, respected, valued, and an integral part of the team. seen him in a long time. You see, that's because Dale has no desire to be in the spotlight. And that's a pretty unique attribute for a guy in broadcasting. There was some concern he wouldn't even show up. In fact, I waited in the parking lot until I saw him so I wouldn't be embarrassed. When thinking of Dale, just remember the movie, The Wizard of Oz. When Dorothy and the Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion and the Tin Man first meet that larger-than-life entity, and you hear these words, "The great and powerful Oz," who was and is the man behind the curtain, Dale Switzer.
You could count on seeing that about once every newscast in the 1970s. I was living in Manhattan in '75 and got married that summer. The $130 a week I made in radio wasn't going to stretch far, so I sent a resume to a TV station in Kansas City and one located halfway between Pittsburgh and Joplin. I'm still waiting to hear back from Kansas City, but Lou returned my cover letter in 3 days with a note scrawled at the bottom, "Dale, call me, Lou." A month after that, Catherine and I threw everything we owned in U-Haul's smallest trailer, hitched it to an 11-year-old Buick, and headed southeast. It took a whole day to get here, but I had a job waiting for me. Officially, I was an announcer director. According to the job description, you might have to do almost anything. Direct Melody Matinee, process and edit film for the 6 o'clock news, and if somebody wanted the evening off, stick around to do sports, or weather, or anchor. I had one responsibility no one else had. With my resume, I included some music guide covers I drew for the Manhattan Rock Station, and that's what Lou was really looking for, someone who could draw cartoons and do simple lettering. Commercial sig slides and station breaks were drawn and painted on art cards back then. Lou also wanted someone to draw the TV guide ads. Half-toning a photo cost money, but ink was cheap. Looking through that old artwork reminds me that sweep stories haven't changed that much in 35 years. Only the faces are different now, and even some of them look vaguely familiar. By the late 70s, film was out, videotape was in, and we had a real news department. News anchoring and weathercasting were left to the pros. In 1981, I turned 30. We started a family, which after 5 years looked like this, and I touched my very first computer. Late at night, I studied programming. Catherine read hexadecimal notation to me while I typed in lines of code. It was geek romance. A few years later, the station bought a weather computer, and I started programming it to make simple animated cartoons. Time marched on, and by the mid-'80s, the station had changed networks and then changed hands. I was now a commercial producer. Four-staters probably saw more of my kids than they ever realized.
Give up the old brontosaurus for a new cougar.
Actually, the proper name is apatosaurus, meaning deceptive lizard.
Whatever. Hunker down in a handsome, hard-working Ford Ranger.
As computers improved, the projects got bigger, and the dinosaurs got more realistic. In 1993, I was named the station's first creative services director, just in time to do something special for KOAM's 40th anniversary. In those days, a frame of animation could take 4 minutes to render, 2 hours for every second. Things went a lot faster a decade later when I worked on our 50th anniversary. And then 10 years further down the road on the 60th. This time in high definition.
This is home!
It really should feel like home. Some of us at KOAM have worked together for a quarter of a century. We've been through changes of ownership, networks, station logos, seen video formats come and go. Great people, a nice award now and then, and so many different job credits. But really, I came here for the money. It was $10 more than I made in radio. Hard to pass up a deal like that.
Like it behind the curtain. I probably owe a note of apology to Judy Stiles because she called to inform me of this honor, and I had to take the call in Sonia Parker's office. And when I was through, Sonia asked, who was that salesperson that we're so mean to? I said, that wasn't I wasn't. And she said, well, you sounded kind of mean. And then I got to thinking what was going through my head when Judy told me what was unfolding, and it soaked in. And the first thought that occurred to me was, crud, at my eye. I quit. And shoes. I tried everything on this morning, and then on the way home from work, stopped by and bought slacks. Well, anyway, she's very patiently shepherded me through this process, and thank you very much. There is, by the way, speaking of journalists, it says I'm a journalist on my diploma, and I've managed to sometimes be a journalist, but most of the time off screen. There is a maxim that I've always adhered to, especially when I do the station promotion, and that is something I saw on the wall of a nursing home many years ago, and I realized that it was something that I already knew, but I really took it to heart in everything I did. And it was very simple. It was, no one will remember what you say. No one will remember what you do. No one will ever forget how you made them feel. And I feel very special. And I will not forget. Thank you very much. Our second honoree this evening is a regional print professional. Here to help with that presentation is Rhonda Clark. She's editor of the campus magazine. She also is a graduate of Missouri Southern with a journalism background. Here now is Rhonda Clark.
So what makes Bob Foos worthy of being a member of the Regional Media Hall of Fame? Let me give you 3 reasons. First and foremost is his photography. When I worked at the Carthage Press, that was the first time I heard about Bob Foos, and I heard about his photography when I worked at the press. The second reason Bob deserves to be in the Regional Media Hall of Fame is for his design skills on the Web City Sentinel. I don't know if you have had the opportunity to take a look at this spectacular newspaper, but it's perhaps the most graphically and aesthetically pleasing of any community newspaper you may have seen. The third reason is Bob's commitment to community journalism and to the Web City Sentinel. 36 years is a long time to dedicate to one newspaper and one community. Many believe newspapers are becoming irrelevant in a 24/7 news cycle where everybody gets their information on a smartphone. But recent research has shown that newspapers with a tie to the community are surviving and thriving, and the Sentinel has proven to be the heart of Web City for its citizens who turn the pages each week for all of their local news. So join me as we watch this photo montage and then hear from this outstanding journalist, Bob Foos.
Because I didn't stay in television. It's really an honor to be here tonight, southwest of Carthage. And I say that because when I worked at the Carthage Press, General Bob Dale made it mandatory that we always refer to Missouri Southern as southwest of Carthage. Never job. You know, I thought that was silly at the time, but it's all about community pride for me. Going back to a child in western Kansas where we didn't even have a newspaper in our town. It was just like every other town that you hate to drive through when you go through Colorado. And my mother will confirm that every town we'd go through that was just like ours, I'd always say, I'm sure glad we live in Healy and study here. And I feel the same way about Webb City. I've liked Webb City even before we won 13 state championships in football. Before the EPA cleaned us up. Before we got the state's largest safe room, which you just saw pictures of. I had a lot of friends in Webb City. I'm even an honorary graduate. And I was honorary born, well, I have an honorary birth certificate from Jane Channel Hospital, because I always used to say no matter how long I stayed in Webb City, I would never be a Webb Cityan because I hadn't graduated from high school there or that I wasn't born in Jane Chen. And that's the mark of a true Webb Cityan. But this is really an honor for me. I was glad to work with Missouri Southern students. I've always had a good relationship with Chad, Dr. Massey before him. My two children went to school here. I was really glad to have an affordable college that they could go to. Neither one of them were in journalism. And thank my wife for supporting me all these years, and my parents for encouraging me to get in the newspaper business. And again, really been appreciated being in Webb City. Thanks a lot.
On behalf of the Department of Communications, we'd like to thank you for attending tonight's awards banquet and awards dinner. The event made possible by a number of financial supporters, including the Ruth I. Colpin Foundation, the MSSU Admissions Office, Missouri Broadcasters Association, Missouri Press Association, and Society of Professional Journalists. Those supporters also help with other special outreach programs from the Department of Communication. In the fall, hundreds of area high school students participate in the Media Showcase competition and come to campus for a day of awards. We'd like to thank the faculty, the staff, and students of the Department of Communication for their efforts in putting together this program. And we would like to thank various departments on campus for their support, including university relations and marketing. Congratulations and thank you to this year's honorees. As we look to the professionals honored in the Regional Media Hall of Fame, we not only look back at past accomplishments, we also look forward to their successful careers and motivating today's students and the professionals of tomorrow. Thank you, and have a good evening.
First, I'd like to congratulate you for being inducted into the Regional Media Hall of Fame.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
What made you decide to go into broadcasting?
It was just something that I was always interested in, and I think basically because I grew up in a town of about 120 people that wasn't near anything of any size, and what you did was watch TV, and that was something I thought that looked exciting.
Was there anyone especially inspirational to you and within your career path?
A lot of people, really, and Lou Martin perhaps most of all, because Lou was a man who understood broadcasting very well from the inside out. And when that computer showed up in the early 80s at KOAM, Lou was the man who said, learn this as well as you can, because this is what you're going to be using from now on.
And what has been your favorite part of working at KOAM?
Honestly, the diversity of the stuff. It's, you know, it is mostly work. That's why they call it work. But now and again, you get to do some really cool stuff with some really nifty toys. And I think it's forced me to learn so many things I probably wouldn't have otherwise. I had, for one project, I had to learn calligraphy. Yeah, and it wasn't anything really to do for the station, but for my boss, who wanted me to letter something for him.
Would you have any words of advice for aspiring broadcasters such as myself that you would like to share?
The only thing, well, you see how much things have changed since I was in school. I have no idea what the future is going to hold, and so my advice isn't going to be concrete. I will tell you that there is not a thing I learned in college that I haven't been able to use in some degree. A general education is about the best thing you can have to face the future.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations again for being inducted into the Regional Media Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. First, I would like to congratulate you on your induction into the Regional Media Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Zachary.
What inspired you to go into photojournalism?
I just, ever since I was in high school, I enjoyed photography for the annual, and it's just been a lifelong hobby for me.
And how long have you been the owner and editor of the Web City Sentinel?
Well, I've been at the Web City Sentinel since 1979. So I guess 36 years.
36 years, wow. What were your initial thoughts whenever you heard you had been inducted into the Regional Media Hall of Fame?
I was very honored, of course. The previous award honorees are icons in this area, people that I knew when I first came to the area and have looked up through all these years.
Do you have any words of advice for aspiring journalists, photojournalists, and photographers that you would like to share?
Well, there's a lot of concern about the health of newspapers, but I think journalism is still an honorable profession, and we just never know what the form that journalism is going to take in the future. But I think there will always be a need for journalism, whether it's digital or whatever format.
All right, well, thank you very much. And congratulations again for being inducted into the Regional Media Hall of Fame. And have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.